I'm going to give it a few more minutes to see, it's just 12 now. So give it a couple more minutes to see if anyone else joins us, and we'll get started. Hi, Michelle. I'm not sure if you heard what I said earlier. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes while we wait to see if, there are anyone else who's going to join us. So, if you don't hear anything, you are in the right Zoom call. We're just giving it a minute. All right. I think I might as well go ahead and get started. We can just add people as they pop up in the waiting room. Hello. Thank you both for joining me. I am Alison Beattie. I'm the new head of research and information services here at the Framingham Public Library. That's what we call our reference team. I'm excited to welcome you to this month's Brown Bag Learning Series. If you have not joined us, ooh, quick question right at the beginning. Does the Library of Things have a yoga ball pump? I do not believe so, but we can talk a little bit about the recommendation process for the Library of Things and where you can actually look for that. And that kind of jumps me into my beginning topic, which the topic for this month's Brown Bag, which if you haven't joined us before the Brown Bag program happens, we try to aim it for the first or second Friday of every month. We host chats on just like a huge range of topics. It's, the Downtown Inc. has presented topics of health and wellness, neighborhood artisans, personal finance. We've even had a dog training session, which we're actually hoping to bring back as the weather warms up, so keep an eye out for that. And this session is being recorded, just to let you know. It should be available on the library's YouTube page in about 5 or so days. And so I will try my best. I did immediately get distracted by the chat, but I will try my best to save questions to the end. If you have any, just do what Michelle did, just throw them in the chat. Make sure you click on send to everyone just to make sure that I see it. And I also added an evaluation form to the chat. So if you could, at the end of the session, just click on that link and give us a little bit of feedback. That's really helpful. It also allows us to know if you would like to sign up to be notified about any additional programs. Depending on how many others join us, I can also throw that in at the end of the session as well. This presentation may normally be a little under the usually allotted hour, but it'll hopefully give you, a really good introduction to the library's resources and will enable you to kind of utilize the Library of Things in a new and exciting way. So Michelle kind of already answered my question that she's familiar with the Library of Things at least, which is awesome. Not a lot of people know that we have this collection, so it's really great that you do. And so I'll give you a little bit of background on, what exactly the Library of Things is, and then we'll jump into, I'll share my screen. I'll show you how you can find the Library of Things online. You can see our items as they come in. We try to keep that as up to date as we can. And also how you can tell if they're actually in the library or if they're checked out, so you don't have to come all the way down here to ask, which is very convenient. As well as, how you go about checking them out. And I've pulled a couple of my favorite things that I can kind of show you as we go through. So a Library of Things collection, as it exists, is a huge growing trend in libraries across the world, all across disciplines. Before I came to the Framingham Public Library, I used to work at Boston College, very different library environment, academic versus public. And we, behind the circulation desk there, would keep course reserve materials. So we keep the books that students needed. They could check them out for a couple hours at a time. But as I was there, we evolved that collection into, we lent out laptops for a few hours at a time, chargers, a drawing tablet, a few pairs of blue light glasses, and we even kind of expanded into a personal reading lamp and a meditation headband. So, even in academic libraries are trying to expand their collections in really, really unique ways, and kind of moving beyond the traditional view of that a library only circulates books, because we have fully entered the 21st century and we are very, very beyond that idea that a library is just a place for books. In fact, kind of some of the more common things that exist in library collections, like DVDs, CDs, Blu-ray, all that kind of stuff, were originally considered kind of non-traditional items that are now incredibly commonplace. And it's even, it's weirder if a library doesn't have those things than if they do. And as, libraries try to adapt to the ways that communities have changed, technology has changed, libraries have really tried to grow their non-traditional circulating materials to provide their community with access to these more niche items. Most Library of Things collections tend to focus on objects that are occasionally useful, but very awkward to store, such as, cookware or very niche technology items. And I'll kind of highlight a few of those items that the Framingham Public Library has, because we do have some very, very niche technology items, and they're very cool. And so in terms of the collection here, it really kind of began in its formal state about 4 or 5 years ago, which is when we were able to formally bring on a librarian of things as part of the reference team, is their official title. And excitingly, this is big news for us, we were actually just able to announce that we have hired a brand new librarian of things. Her name is Emily Leonardo. She starts this upcoming Monday. We're very, very excited to have her join the reference team. And so this presentation is actually timed perfectly. It will, go out into the world and broaden, hopefully, fingers crossed, the community's knowledge of this resource right as she's coming in. And so she can kind of hit the ground running with a lot of community involvement. So we're very, very excited. And so let's just dive right into, Framingham's collection and what we have. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you where on the Framingham Library website. Actually, I'm not going to share my screen just yet. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of myself. I got too excited to show you everything. It happens. So how do you actually go about finding what we have in the library? So there are 2 ways, one of which you can do right from your home, but that's when I'll share my screen and I'll get into that in a second. But the first way is right here in the library. Obviously, we have our shelf that has all of our they're kind of stand-in representations of the actual items. We don't just have them out in circulation. But in the library, if you come upstairs to the reference desk, which is where you will see me 80% of the time, please stop by and say hi. We have this binder. We do our best to keep this updated as we add and remove everything, but it has kind of photos of every item that we have in the collection, and you can just kind of flip through. It just exists at the reference desk. You don't have to check it out or make an appointment to look at it. You can just grab it and kind of look through it as you like. And if there's something, that strikes your fancy, you can just go downstairs to the circulation desk and they will have it for you. The second way is where we get into screen sharing, which I got too excited to do. It's been a while since I've run a Zoom program, so I'm just very, very excited to be able to do all the fun technology things. So if we go to, I'm hoping everyone can see this. If we go to the Framingham Library website, our lovely, lovely homepage, and we go to Browse, you'll see Library of Things. So this has kind of all of our, just the basic explanations of what the collection is, how you can find it. But if you scroll down here, you'll see that we have, just a broad range of categories. And so, everything's kind of looped in under bigger categories, but let's say hypothetically we go to, active. This tells you everything we have under that category of active, including but not limited to binoculars and snowshoes. And that's kind of what's really cool about a library of things, is that it's items that you may never think you want until all of a sudden you have the opportunity to go camping and you're like, oh, I might want to do some bird watching, but I don't own binoculars. So there you go. You can just see that we have a pair of binoculars. And so if you, click on the picture of the item that you're looking at, it will give you more of that detailed record, which is really cool. It gives you like a very brief description, as well as this catalog link, which is super, super useful. So you can just click on that and it'll take a minute to load, but it'll bring you to our Minuteman Library catalog. And so you can see right here, oh, I just highlighted everything. That's not what I meant to do. So you can see right here that our binoculars have been checked out. So rather than, making your way to the library to check them out, expecting that they'll be here, you've already seen that they are checked out. And, you can periodically check back in to see when they, have been checked back in. So kind of going back into the broader thing. So yeah, this is a really, really great resource. Like I said, same with the binder, with the website, we try to keep everything as up to date as we possibly can. And so let's talk a little bit about how exactly you would check an item out from the Library of Things. So the first thing you need to do is you'll go to this website and you'll click on our Library of Things agreement. And this brings you to this Google form. It will ask for, your email, your information, and essentially this is just saying that you agree to take care of this material, that you understand that you are responsible for it, you are of good standing with the library, and you are responsible if any damage should occur to the item that would incur any kind of replacement or repair costs. Please do read the agreement in full. I have summarized, but there are more details there that you will need to know. And so once you've agreed to that and you've submitted that to us, that allows the circulation team to put a little note in your records. You don't have to refill it out every time you need to check out an item, and the circulation team doesn't have to scroll through our spreadsheet of patrons who have submitted this agreement. It's just right there on your record, and you can just check things out as you'd like. And so from there on, you can, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. I don't know how to do that. Oh my gosh, it's been much too long since I've done Zoom. Okay, so once that agreement has been submitted and you have found the item that you want to check out, you've seen that it's here, how exactly do you get it? At the main library, you will go to our main floor, and which is that first floor that you come in. I know it can be a little tricky. Reference is technically the third floor, but that main floor when you walk in, and you are going to see our Library of Things shelf. And it's essentially the Blockbuster model, where there is, I'm not sure the particulars, but there's, I believe honestly, it's just an empty DVD case that has either a picture or the name of the item that you would like. You take that to the circulation desk, they swap it out for the item itself, and then they keep that box case behind the circulation desk until the item is returned, and then they swap it back and put that back out on the shelf. Which I didn't think I would have to explain the Blockbuster model until someone reminded me that there is a chance that many people watching this had never been to a Blockbuster, and I got very upset. So it's a super straightforward process, and of course, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to give the reference desk a call, give circulation a call, just stop by, ask some questions the next time you're in. We do our best to be, very helpful and engaging and a great resource, and we would love for more people to be able to utilize this resource in particular. So of course, if you have any questions, please ask. So in terms of, I'm just going to take a real quick peek at the chat. So the yoga ball pump, again, I touched on this a little bit at the beginning. I don't believe so, but I'm not sure. It would be under active, most likely, and I didn't see anything. At both libraries, I believe this is at both libraries. The collections are a little bit different, but if you find an item and you click on catalog, you'll see it will say available or unavailable at Framingham, and then if it's at McAuliffe, it will say McAuliffe. So you'll know which library branch it is at. In terms of donations or input in anything to the collection, while we do have a librarian of things, Emily, the items are actually chosen by a Library of Things committee, which is great because it means that you have a vast amount of perspectives and opinions when we're choosing items. And it's really one of those situations, a lot of times you worry, too many cooks in the kitchen, but this we've found is really, really helpful to have that broad array of perspectives. You can, once you have the idea of what you would like to donate, you can shoot us an email via the Ask a Librarian page on the website. Or if you'd like, you can, I was going to say use the chat, but actually I'm going to take that back. We're just going to use the Ask a Librarian page on the website because that will go directly to myself on the reference team, and then Emily and I can kind of chat with the committee. And once we've, decided if that item will be added to the collection, we'll reach out and we'll coordinate donation with that. Unlike how we do with books, where we just kind of accept books and add them to either the collection or to the Friends book sale as needed, we tend to be a little more, I don't want to say restrictive, that's the wrong word. There's just more of a process for getting things donated to the Library of Things, is how I'll phrase that. Selective, possibly, yes. I still can't quite put my finger on the word I wanted to use, but yeah, it's a little bit more of an extensive process for that. So we've talked about how to see the collection, we've talked about how to check things out. So let's dive into some of the highlights, which the first thing I'm going to show you is actually something that we are the most proud of. Apologies for the noise as I take everything out of the boxes. So this is a T-Mobile Wi-Fi hotspot. We have about 100 of these, and you can take them anywhere in the United States that you can receive a cell signal. As long as you have electricity and a cell phone signal, you can get Wi-Fi, which is incredible. It's a great resource. It's even a passworded Wi-Fi network on it, so it enables you to do very private browsing. You don't have to worry about that. And this is a resource that's incredible because a lot of people, we don't really think about it that often, but a lot of people tend to live in an area where wireless internet connection can be a little bit tricky to get, not necessarily reliable, or sometimes even impossible to get. And the fact that the library has this as a resource is amazing. We've also put a significant number of these onto the bookmobile. So patrons who, may not have the best internet connection, but also might not be mobile or aren't able to get to the library in time to pick one up, can get it from the bookmobile if they live in an area that the bookmobile goes to. What's great about this is that, much like all of our electronics, they come with lovely little laminated instructions. So there's not, any kind of questions about how they work. But of course, if there ever are any questions, like I said before, the reference desk or the circulation team is more than happy to kind of help and walk through how exactly to use them. But yeah, the T-Mobile hotspots are honestly one of the coolest things that we have. One of the other items I was going to show you is actually incredibly checked out, which is great. We have a briefcase and 2 pad folios for patrons to borrow when they have, job interviews or any occasion when they need to present themselves in a more traditionally office-like persona, but may not necessarily have a briefcase or a pad folio to go with it. If you're not in a position where you're already using one every day, it's an odd item for a lot of people to have, which is kind of, I think, the tagline for the Library of Things collection. If you're not already using this item, it would be odd for you to have it. So we have it, which is really great. And this is incredibly useful with our developed Framingham Business Resource Center, which has a ton of resources for job hunters and people who want to open or grow their small businesses in the city of Framingham. So those 2 items work really, really well together, which is very, very cool. We also have this lovely box, which I will open and show you what it is. Because as, ever-changing as the pandemic situation is, unfortunately, movie theaters, at least for me, are still kind of out of the question. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. And what we at the library have decided to add to our collection is a very small portable projector. So you can essentially take a wall of your house and plug it into your computer or a DVD player and turn that entire wall into your own personal movie theater. I actually had a friend borrow this over the summer, and we sat out in their backyard, so we could all distance, and she just projected it onto the side of her house, which was absolutely incredible. And so again, it comes with the cords you'll need. It comes with laminated instructions, which is awesome. I do believe you may need an additional adapter if you are trying to plug it into an iPhone or an Android cell phone device, but it should hook up to a laptop, a computer, a DVD player with no problem at all. And it's just, it's something that's really cool and that not a lot of people have. And I feel like now that I've seen it used, I personally am going to use it all the time over the summer because there's something so lovely about sitting outside, enjoying that, last light of the summer sunset and turning on a movie. And it's fantastic. I cannot recommend it highly enough. We do also have, in addition to our wide array of outdoor equipment, just like bike locks. You're out, you're biking for the summer or winter. Some people bike all winter, and it fascinates me. I can't understand how they do it. But we've got extra bike locks. We have a bike pump, just an incredible range of outdoor equipment. We also have, and this is actually, I was blown away. I found out about this last night, actually. We have a VHS to DVD converter cable. Basically what it does is you plug one end of it into a VHS player, which we also have. You can also borrow that here. And you plug the other side of it into a computer with a DVD drive. You pop a blank DVD into that computer. You put your VHS tape in, and you hit play, and the VHS turns into a DVD. incredible. This is awesome because I know that my family has just a huge stack of old home movies that are just kind of existing on VHS tapes. And I don't know, until I worked here, I did not know a single institution that still had a VHS player accessible. So not only does the library offer that, but it can allow, it has that cable that will allow you to turn that VHS into a DVD disc, which, not only is more shelf stable, because a lot of the problems with some of these old VHS tapes, a lot of people don't know, they do degrade over time. So there's a chance that the longer they sit, the less likely they will be able to be played at all. And so this is actually a really, really cool item because it can allow people who, like my parents who have those kind of boxes in the basement to kind of preserve these family memories that are incredibly cherished. It also means that I can take my old Disney VHSs and turn them into DVDs, and I don't have to rebuy the Disney DVDs because I refuse to give the Disney Corporation any more money. So, it's a win-win for everybody. Don't actually do that. I think that's copyright violation. Just do it with your home videos. And so I just found out about that yesterday. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I'm very excited. And we do have, this is the last thing I was actually able to bring into my office to show you because a couple of the next things I'm going to touch on are a little bit larger, so I couldn't bring them up the stairs. However, with that being said, the thing I did bring up was a giant pair of ceremonial scissors. I think these are hilarious. I'm obsessed with these. They get used all the time. I didn't realize that. I was talking to a member of our circulation team this morning. Apparently they are used constantly. I should have realized, we actually used them when we unveiled the Framingham Business Resource Center with Mayor Spicer this past November. And so, yeah, they get used constantly. I think they're very cool, but again, kind of goes back to that tagline of, if you don't need it, why would you have it? So the library has it. So on the off chance you are ever in a situation where you need to cut a ribbon for an unveiling, the library has you covered with a giant pair of ceremonial scissors, which is awesome. Some of our larger items that we have are including and not limited to an entire croquet set, some snowshoes, as well as a sewing machine and cake pans. And the sewing machine and cake pans are unsurprisingly some of our, most popular items that we have. Just because it's one of those things where, how often are you going to be baking a cake in the shape of an airplane? And even if you are planning on baking a cake in the shape of an airplane more than once, where are you going to store that cake pan in between bakes? It's awkward, takes up a lot of room, will most likely not fit into any of the drawers in the kitchen. And so it's really nice that the library is able to kind of curate this collection of very novelty shaped cake pans, because it means people can make, very fun cakes and desserts for their friends, family, relatives, birthdays, whatever, but they don't have to worry about storing them in their house, which is really nice. And the same goes for, the sewing machine, where I personally would love to sew, or I would love to learn to sew, but until I get to that point, having a sewing machine in my house, it kind of defeats the purpose. I'm not at that level where I would need one yet, but I also can't learn without one. It's a weird catch-22 kind of situation. And so it's nice because the library enables me to borrow it for a couple weeks at a time, and I don't have to worry about, finding a place to put it in the house, where I'm going to, how I'm going to maneuver myself around the sewing machine that's just on my table for the rest of my life until I decide to, inevitably get rid of it and then change my mind and buy another one. But also, who has the money for that? No one. Thankfully, the library has you covered. Yeah, and so, as you can tell, I hope from my enthusiasm about this, I think the Library of Things collection is genuinely incredible. And we have, I mean, these were just a few of my personal favorites. That doesn't even go into board games. We have American Girl dolls actually, which are incredible. And some members of our children's team have actually, they've received kind of mismatched items that go with the American Girl dolls. So they've worked to create a bundle so you can get the doll and a little bit of the play sets. So you're not just, so you have your kids have a little bit more to play with, which I think is really, really cool. And as I kind of touched on earlier, as Emily joins our team, I'm really looking forward to the ways in which this collection can continue to develop and can reflect the needs of the community and will hopefully, continue to be utilized to such a degree. So yeah, so I think I've kind of touched on all of the questions that are in the chat, but if either of you have any other questions or comments or anything, I will put the program evaluation form back in the chat as well. Or if there's anything else you would like me to touch on that I didn't.
Hi, Allison. My name's Bill Rabkin. Excuse me. I was aware of the Library of Things, never actually borrowed anything, but I'm often in the library. I run the video system on Sunday afternoons for the library concerts.
Oh, wonderful.
I work with Lara on those. I had a couple of observations on the Library of Things page, catalog page for an item where you showed that one of the things you wanted is out in circulation.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about Libby for a moment, you're familiar with Libby.
Mm-hmm.
When a title is not available because all of the licensed copies are out, if you want to reserve it, they will give you an estimate. First of all, they tell you how many copies they own and how many people are waiting, and then they'll give you an estimate of when your turn might come up. It occurred to me that it might be helpful if the catalog page for a thing not only said it's out, but gave an indication of when the current loan is due. Which I don't, last time I heard about the Library of Things, it was not possible to reserve a thing that you wanted to borrow. Is that still the case?
That is actually not the case anymore. You can request it as you would any other book from the collection. And so it will bring you to that request page and you'll receive an email when the item is available for you, like you would with a book.
So then it would be helpful to know when the current loan is due back. There's no guarantee that the borrower will return it at that time, but at least it gives you an idea whether you're going to be waiting 3 days or 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you for your input. I do know that this side of the catalog is managed by the whole Minuteman network. That is not something that we can go in and change. But it's definitely worth, mentioning to Minuteman. They're always looking for input on things like that. And so that's definitely something that we can bring to them. I really appreciate you bringing it up.
Now, in terms of specific things, the transfer from VHS tapes to DVDs is a great idea, but as you know, fewer and fewer computers have DVD drives in them these days. Perhaps the library would consider buying a DVD player slash writer, which is a standalone desktop unit that can not only play DVDs, but it can write DVDs.
I know we do have a Blu-ray external DVD drive in the collection.
That should work.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about the particulars if it will also write the DVDs as opposed to just read them. I imagine it will, as it, any external DVD drive would, but I am not familiar with the specifics of that. So I can absolutely also follow up and, mention it to Emily if it doesn't, because that is a very good point. You're right. A lot of computers are, in the sake of efficiency, trying to remove DVD drives from their computers. So that's a really good point.
Now, my old home movies are not on VHS, they're on Super 8 movie film.
Yeah.
And I would love to borrow a Super 8 to DVD converter, but the collection doesn't have one of them.
I don't believe we do. I know we have a digital slide. We have a slide converter, so we have a
Oh,
film
good.
to digital slide converter, but I don't think we have a Super 8 converter. But again, that's absolutely something
I
that I
have
can, mention to Emily and see if she thinks it'll fit in.
I have hundreds, if not thousands, of 35 millimeter slides.
Oh,
So I
well,
will
we've got you covered on that front.
someday when I have the time. Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other questions or? Oh, Michelle in the chat, that would be wonderful if you would, potentially be open to donating. If you would love to shoot us an email through the Ask a Librarian page, we can definitely send that along to the Library of Things committee. I keep on instinct wanting to call them the Things committee, which I feel like just sounds weird. The Library of Things committee, and they can kind of discuss and get back to you. That would be great. And if no one else has any questions or comments, I would, again, love for you all to fill out the program evaluation form for us, and that way you can be sure to be signed up for when we do our next round of Brown Bag, in addition to all of the other wonderful programs, including but not limited to our Sunday concert series. And we will hopefully see you all at another program soon. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.